Okay, so we're going to talk about joy, Advent, and joy. But before I get started, did everybody get a balloon? Because if you didn't, I want Diane to bring you one right now. So hold up your hand if you didn't get a balloon, because you're going to need it. Yeah, keep that hand up. So do not play with the balloon during message time. Later you can play with it. Somebody wound him up this morning. Let's see. We got a few more. So everybody's got one.
Thank you.
Almost.
I got you.
Yes, we did. So, even though Diane's passing that out, I'm going to get started here. You know, I grew up in a part of the country where there was always snow around Christmas time, and one of the first things we always did as kids was bundle up and we'd run outside and we'd make snow angels. Everybody know what snow angels are? You know, where you move your arms and your feet and you try to crawl out of that dent in the snow without putting any footprints around to make it look like an angel really came and laid in the snow. And it was so much fun, and it would bring us such joy to just see who could do it, you know, and get out of it without making extra marks or falling over or whatever. Now, snowmen, though, were a whole different story, because it always depended on the snow, right? Some snow is wet and icy, some snow is dry. So, you know, you had to have the right snow to build a snowman. And, you know, it'd be a real challenge. But I remember one winter when, because our yard ended and the park began in Wichita, Kansas. And so we had this massive area where we could, you know, have massive snow to use for snowmen. But I remember one winter that the kids were just so antsy to have a snowman built. You know, they just were begging to go out in the snow. And the snow was icy and wet and cold. And I was like, you don't need to go out there, you know. Finally, Warren said, okay, I'll take them out. So they all bundled up. And, you know, when they get bundled up in all the clothes, because we had ski pants and everything, you know, they're like, you know, we're going to go build a snowman. They couldn't even move. But they got out there and they started trying to make these snowballs, right? And all they did was kind of pack into ice, and then they'd start crumbling. And they were getting frustrated, and they were getting more cold and wet. And I was sitting in the sun porch room that was, you know, all year round sun porch, drinking my hot cocoa, watching and staying warm. And I thought, oh, they're having so much fun, but they're really getting cold. Warren's going to have to get creative. And all of a sudden, I see him come out of the garage with the snow shovel. And he takes the snow shovel and he just starts shoveling the snow and flipping it over, like he's making a bale. But the bad thing was there was leaves underneath all that snow. So the snow was like folding over, but with all these leaves in it. So you could barely tell it was snow. You know, it started to look like a dirty bale of snow. Kind of odd. Anyway, they get one done, and they're like all thrilled, all filled with joy, you know, just like, ah! And then he does another one. So I'm sitting there going, now this will be the trick. How is he going to get that one on top of the other one without it all just crumbling to pieces, right? Well, I guess the leaves must have had some gluing power, because the thing stayed together, and they got the other one on top, and they put the scarf around, and the carrot in the nose, and the coal in the eyes and the mouth, and they were so proud of themselves, and they were so thrilled, you know. And so they came running in the house to get their hot cocoa and to get warm, but the snowman looked like that. But they didn't bother them. See, just like you laughing and full of joy. That's the way they were. They had a snowman, and they proved me wrong, you know. But the thing was, the point to the whole thing is that life is all around us all the time. And we get to choose whether or not we call it joy. Right? And that's the point I want to make before we get ready to do these statements of truth. We're going to discover more about that idea of joy and more about life and more about Christmas after we say this. Together, please. I am a child of God. I am deserving of good in my life. I am accepting my good now. That's right. And this week is the last week of Advent. Wednesday's Christmas. And, you know, Christmas usually brings a great deal of joy, doesn't it? I mean, don't you feel it already? It's like the Sunday before Christmas kind of like brings this whole anticipation of what Christmas is going to bring to us. And, you know, it's a time to celebrate life. And it might be through children opening up gifts, or it might be just in being with family and friends and having that energy around us that is here and present right now, right here. You know, we look at the twinkling lights on the tree and the bright and shiny ornaments, and that reminds us of joy too, doesn't it? You see, life seems to be this reflective, warming, and magical thing that all we have to do is stop and enjoy it and view it as from that point of view, and it changes all things. You see, it wells up that joy in our soul if we allow it to come forth. And that's what we need to work on, and that's where we're going to be today. But I have a couple questions for you. What brings joy to our souls? What really brings joy to our souls? And perhaps you already are thinking of answers that are coming to your head, but hopefully by the end of this message we're going to be able to answer that question easily. And how can we celebrate joy in our life all year long? Now that's a little harder question to ponder. But we're going to jump in with joy to see if we can figure out answers to some of these questions. Well, this week we celebrate life with the birth of Jesus on Christmas Day. But most importantly in Unity, we celebrate this event as a time of birthing the Christ within us. And this realization brings forth joy. It's kind of funny because Warren kind of touched on that in his meditation, and yet he had no idea of what words I had put into my message or put on the PowerPoint, so it was kind of funny that he brought that up. Of course, it is that time of year. And the birth of Jesus is one of the main focuses of most Christian churches this time of year, right? It's viewed as the arrival of our Savior. Now, if you were here a couple weeks ago when I spoke about peace, you know that the Savior actually means the Christ mind, and capital N mind, which we know that is directly from God. So it is that Christ connection within us that is directly connected to God is what your Savior truly is. And so it is this time of year that reminds us more and more of the opportunities that we have in any moment to birth that Christ within us. At any moment we can tap into that oneness, that idea of the Christ mind. So what does this really mean for us, and why is this even significant for us? It's because the Christ that dwells within us is that connection with God. And you know that longing that you have in your heart, that desire that you have for something more in your life? What you're desiring and what you're longing for in your soul, in your heart, is that connection with God, that relationship with God. And once you start that journey, which I know everybody here has started that journey, you can't stop. It's an ongoing process, and if you try to run away from it, something's going to pull you back in. And that something is your own desire to have that connection with God. And that's powerful. And it's also where we receive all of our blessings. And that's why we want to stay connected. That's why we want our lives to be full and be in that Christ mind and be centered on that. You know, these last 4 weeks we've talked about faith and love and peace and joy and those 4 points of Advent. And it is in those 4 points that we bring forth that Christ within. They're like steps to bring us to this place of that knowing. That knowing in your soul that you are connected to God, that you can at any time receive messages from God. Judy earlier today, she even said, oh, I got this message and I'm learning that I need to listen to those messages that I receive. And that's huge, folks, because when you do that, your life is going to be filled with joy and peace and love. And that all comes about through that idea of faith. Well, you know, the reason that baby Jesus came to this world was to teach each of us that we can birth the Christ within ourselves. See, his little birth shows us that we can birth that. Now, this story is elaborate, you know, mystical, and some people don't even believe that it could have happened, believe it or not. And that's okay if that's what you believe. But Jesus had to have a fanfare around his birth in order for us to pay attention to his messages and his teachings that he brought forth for us. Think about this. If he would have had an ordinary birth and there was no Christmas, do you think we probably would even pay attention to what he had to say? I don't know. But it's possible that we wouldn't have, because everybody likes a good party. And everybody likes that celebrating idea, and everybody likes that idea of having a purpose behind it. And if it's his birth, or the day that we have labeled his birth, then so be it. Let's celebrate that, and let's take that as a way to jump off into this idea that he did bring us some gifts. He brought us some powerful gifts in his teachings and the way he lived life. Now, I don't know a lot of people that have had a big fanfare for their birth. I mean, we all, go, oh yeah, new baby, hey, cute, wonderful. But how many people have had holidays named after, their birth? I mean, okay, well, there's a few presidents and Martin Luther King and, I can't think of the other person. But I'm sure there's some, there are. You guys could probably name some out here too, if I let you. But my point is that Jesus is special, and his birthday became a special thing for all of us. Because of those gifts that he brought us, because of as he grew, he gave us examples in his life of how we too can live our life. But let's take his birth story and look at it metaphysically, and let's see some things that it might point out for us. From Luke 1:26 through 38, and Willie read the end of this passage today when he lit the faith candle. But it's about the Annunciation to the Virgin Mary of the birth of Jesus. During this scene in the story, in fact, I think you said a little bit about this too, Kay, before Jerry's song. During this scene in the story, Mary makes the significant reply to the news brought to her by Gabriel. Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. Let it be to be according to your word. Now, let's not forget that the word Lord means I am. And I am means what? The Christ within. So we're talking about that connection. These words illustrate perfect, peaceful consent to spiritual revelation and guidance. See, she let go of her own control and followed the will of God, didn't she? Yes. Mary as virgin symbolizes our feeling nature in a purely intuitive and harmonious state. It's when we listen to those messages. It's when we are receptive to what is being sent to us and we say, oh, I'm getting this message that I need to go another way. Or I'm getting this message that I needed my raincoat this morning, my umbrella, but I didn't want to go back in the house and get them. And then I ended up in the downpour, But that's that intuitiveness of us, that Mary feeling within us that comes forth and gives us, it gives it to you in the power of wisdom. It tells you in your stomach if you're making the right choices or not. And all we have to do is listen. When we are in harmonious agreement with our inner spiritual revelations and directions, we receive an annunciation, an announcement of the awakening and quickening, which is the birth of spiritual awareness in us. So you see how that works? It's like when we do listen to that intuitive thought, or when we do let go of our will and listen to the will of God, what happens? We get that announcement that we have birthed something new in us, and you hate to go like levels like this, but it brings us to a new place in spiritual awareness. It does. Whether you want to know it or not, it's going to change how you think about things the next time something comes along. Did you know that the Christmas story is only found in the books of Matthew and Luke? It's only found in Matthew chapter 1, verse 18 through 25, in Luke chapter 2, verse 1 through 20, and Matthew chapter 2, verse 1 through 12. And metaphysically, this is highly symbolic and a very beautiful account of the coming forth into consciousness of a newer and greater level of spiritual awareness that one has never known before. And it is from this new spiritual awareness that we begins as a glimmer in the mind, the babe. The babe in the manger symbolizes that glimmer of feeling in yourself that you have this spiritual connection with God. How many people feel that in themselves? Actually feel a connection with God. And maybe not all the time, but maybe you have sparks of it even. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing when you can turn that on, when you can finally let go of yourself and what you think you need and let God show up in your life. And it could be just like, like I said, like a little spark at different times. Or it could be a message, turn here, don't go that way, there's a traffic jam. That's your connection with God. And it can be in that babe state. It is brought forth through our intuition and our love for truth, which is represented by Mary. It is nurtured and protected by right and positive thinking, which is represented by Joseph. See, believe it or not, we don't always have to be analytical, and we don't always have to be the ones to figure everything out. You know, God is analytical and brings forth things and figures things out for us if we let Him or her. So, you know, it's in that place we don't have to be the ones to put it all into place, to put all the blocks in the right level or lay it all out the way it's supposed to be. We can allow it to come forth in our lives. And because of that idea of the right and positive thinking that is within each of us. It occurs first in the area of the soul, where we are capable of feeling peace. And this is what I spoke of a few weeks ago when I talked about peace, is how peace and love work together to bring forth that Christ idea. Because when love and peace work together, then we find that place of joy. We find that place of faith. It is in our soul development. It is there for us to experience. Now, the visit of the three wise men from the east to the newborn child is described in Matthew 2, verse 1 through 12. And metaphysically, this incident symbolizes the coming forth into the conscious mind of the rich soul memories that have been dormant in the deeper levels of the soul. You see, it's not like, you know, okay, we're connected to God, and we're in our Christ self, and we know that we are connected, and boom, a new idea comes. No, you know, all that is within us. If we're in the oneness, it is within each of us. And so they're laying dormant. These little seeds of truths and these little seeds of things that we want to bring forth into our lives are here within each of us. They're just laying dormant, waiting for us to say, hey, we're ready. Hey, we want this. Hey, we're opening up to whatever good is coming forth for us in this next breath. It's huge. You know, we don't have to force it. So, these soul memories bring blessings of powers and abilities to our awakened spiritual awareness. And they're represented by those three gifts that the three wise men bring. Gold, a realization of the richness of spirit. Frankincense, a realization of the beauty of things spiritual. And myrrh, a realization of the eternality of spirit, or endlessness of spirit. And all of these are divine, what we call divine ideas, and really divine ideas should have been capitalized. But divine ideas, that connection with God, those ideas that come forth through us, and we get to express in our lives. Everything comes forth from a divine idea. There isn't any other way. So the three gifts and the three wise men, we know, are the richness and the beauty and the endlessness of spirit moving in and through us, gifting us with all of these divine ideas that we can put into our lives. Tiny's book, Jerry's CD, Judy getting the message, us bringing our umbrella this morning. Whatever those messages were, you know, are those messages that are divine ideas from God, putting forth fruition into our lives. How long did you, Jerry and Tiny, how long were you getting those messages to do this, and you finally did it? I mean, probably years, right? Tiny? Yeah. So you get those urges for years and years, and you think, oh yeah, someday I'm going to do this. I mean, God's telling me, oh, God gave me another idea about that. Maybe I'm going to have to do that one of these days. I'm going to have to really sit down and do this. But once you really do it, don't you feel like just celebrating, like you're just filled with joy, and all of a sudden it's yours. You've done it. You've put it out there, and my God, what a blessing. Because, see, you're no longer just blessing yourself with those ideas. You're blessing everybody else. And that's what's good about, you know, supporting each other in these endeavors. You know, here comes in the flower maker. You know, I mean, all of these things that we can do to implement into our lives is celebrating joy, of celebrating those things around us that can bring joy to not only us, but other people. See, life is more than what we hold in the forefront of our minds. Life is full of radiant ideas that long to be expressed through each of us. All right, so when we talk about these three gifts, what happened next was in the story was, in the same incident, in the same Bible story, we read that the wise men are warned in a dream. How many people have dreams and get messages through their dreams? Yeah, it's true. Not to reveal the place where the babe Jesus can be found. You see, King Herod would destroy Jesus. We know that from the story, right? King Herod symbolizes selfish egotism. Selfish egotism does not want spiritual awareness to grow and expand in us, for that would terminate its days of domination over us. See, the selfish egotism doesn't want us to have fun. The selfish egotism doesn't want us to celebrate our good. The selfish egotism tells you you're not good enough, that you're not loved enough, or that you are not enough, or whatever it is, that you can't do that book, that you can't do that CD. Oh, nobody's going to buy it. Who cares if anybody buys it? Really, once you put it out there into the universe, you've gifted the world. You know, whether anybody buys it or not, it's a gift, and you've celebrated it. King Herod symbolized, I said that, okay. Didn't I? No. King Herod symbolized selfish egotism does not want, okay. And yet, our soul wisdom, the wise men in us, can prevent this. Our soul wisdom wants it. The soul wisdom is all pure, it's all good. It's from God. So that wants to come forth. It's kind of like these Christmas decorations. If you look at them, they're beautiful, aren't they? We get them all put up in our homes, and we get them everywhere. And then what happens after Christmas? We're tired of them. We take them all down, right? But while they're up, we say, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful, and it's so fun just to sit there on your couch and look at your Christmas tree and just, we just ooh and all over it, and we feel the joy, don't we? Yes. We do this with newborn babies. We ooh and all over them, and we feel the joy for them, and then they start growing, and we're still trying to find the joy. And then come teenagers, and we're wondering if there was any joy. But you know, we're staying focused, and we're trying to go from that place. Well, can happen to each one of us. When we awaken those soul memories, you know, because at any time, even though Christmas decorations are down, even though our kids are teenagers, maybe they're grown, we can still remember that joy we felt, can't we? We can go back to that soul memory, that good feeling we had, and say, yes, it's still here. Those thoughts that lie dormant in our consciousness, in our Christ mind, that's what those soul memories are. They lie dormant. Those are the spiritual truths that we resonate with, that we feel comfortable with, and that we long for in our life. If you're feeling like you're needing something in your life and you don't know what it is, allow yourself to open up and allow your soul to be expressing. That's what you need. That's what you long for. Let it go. You know, who cares if somebody thinks it's stupid? Who cares if somebody laughs? Who cares if somebody says, oh, that's not so? If that's what your soul is feeling, allow it to come forth. All we have to do is bring them forth and give them birth. That's what they had to do with their book, their CD, the ideas that we have. All we have to do is give them birth. And so you might be saying to yourself, well, you know, I have this King Herod story in the back of my head that just keeps replaying over and over again. You know, the King Herod story that just seems to be making me feel less than. The King Herod story that keeps bothering me. And maybe that King Herod story is there, and it's about your past circumstances, whatever happened in the past. And that past could have been before you walked into this building, because I know once you walked in, you were coming from that Christ cell. But it's anything that does not align with the truth of you. It's anything that you do that tries to justify anything that is not the truth of you. And we use it as an excuse for past behaviors. And your story might, your story might be one of addiction, of giving your power away and allowing someone to abuse you, or you taking somebody else's power away and abusing them. Perhaps your story is one of emotional turmoil over something you did or something someone else did, and you have this emotional turmoil tied into this whole thing, which resulted in guilt or shame or hopelessness. And maybe it is that idea that you seem to never have enough or be enough, or you're not loved enough, or whatever your enough is. All of these things, though, are not the truth of you. They're not the truth of you, so you can let them go. We don't have to hang on to that stuff from our past. Even those little pieces that come forth, we don't have to hang on to it. And that's what's really cool about next week's service is it's a perfect opportunity that if any of these King Herod examples are showing up in your life and they keep coming back and haunting you, come and release them next week in this burning bowl experience and set a new intention for yourself, and it's a powerful time to be together. Don't let those King Herod stories control your life. Because all that is that distorted ego manipulating and taking the good away from us, allowing us not to express the good. And Fillmore gives us this in Adam's Smashing Power of Mind. Instead of giving up to circumstances and outer events, we should remember that we are all very close to a kingdom of mind that would make us always happy and successful if we would cultivate it and make it and its laws a vital part of our lives. The joy of Jehovah, the I Am, is your strength. You see, our ego is not really a bad thing when it's in balance. It's only when it's out of balance, when it's all about me. Then it's not a good thing. You know, that's when the good is held from us. But the good news is about this, that we have all the spiritual wisdom that we need to turn it around. We have all the spiritual we need to celebrate life all the time. It's the Mary in us, that intuitive feeling that can help bring that forth for us. Because if we're feeling uncomfortable and something's stirring up in us, it's a sign. It's a sign to choose something new, to change how we're thinking, to come up with a new direction, to do something different than what we've been doing. It's a sign. And it comes from that truth of us, that Christ within. You see, from the Christ, we cannot think less than the truth of us, which is good. God is all good, and so are we. So if you feel like you're not connecting with God, if you feel like you're not even getting those nanosecond sparks, see if it's your ego, or see if it's that idea that you're thinking less than the truth of yourself. Because it's in those moments that we take away that connection with God. And God's always there for us. It's not like, you know, God's going to go anywhere. No. Don't we believe God is everywhere and in all things? Yes? Yes. Then God is here with us right now. All right. Now, some people will call that King Herod thing karma. Anybody ever do that? Oh, that's karma, because, you know, I did that in the past, so it's coming back to bite me in the butt now. Excuse me. But people say this. And Temple Hayes, Reverend Temple Hayes, she wrote a article a while back. It's been months ago. But when I read it, I thought, well, this is a cool thing about karma, and I know it'll be a powerful point for a message someday, and today's the day. So she writes to us. She says, karma, in popular terms, means that in this lifetime or in other lifetimes, a soul has made certain choices, and karma is the consequences of those choices. This is where, you know, we say, oh, because I did that in my past, you know, it's going to come back and it's going to make me have bad luck, or, you know, this is why this is happening because of something I did before, or whatever. That's how karma works. But in Unity, we don't believe in that. We believe in the law of cause and effect. Okay? That all we are doing is working the law of cause and effect. When we recognize our mistakes and realize that our mistakes are creating consequences, we are healed. In the moment we realize that we made a mistake, we're healed. It's not the next day. It's not 3 weeks of therapy. It's not, you know, whatever. It is in that moment that you know that you made a mistake. That error thinking. The minute you know you had error thinking, you're healed. There is not a record book keeping track of the number of good or bad actions we take. Karma's effect ends once our awareness is brought to the idea of wholeness. Once we realize the truth within ourselves, the oneness with God, that's over with. It's no longer there. This is good news, you know, because nothing has to stay with us all of our lives. Nothing. We can be healed. Those ideas that we have that God is not with us, or that, you know, something else is going to happen, is not the truth of us. And what we can do is we can focus on that idea that we are in that awareness, that spiritual awareness of that oneness with God, and that brings forth joy, believe it or not. You can't be in the idea of the oneness with God and not feel joy. it like lights up within you. Now, if you're struggling with this idea at all, of this idea of karma or whatever, think about this. When someone shares something, and you're thinking to yourself while they're sharing their story, and you hear it, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, God, that happened in my life before, but gosh, it seemed like I was living a different life. That's not me, who I am today. That couldn't have happened to me. That must have been somebody else. You know, when you're that disconnected from that event, then you have healed yourself. You have moved beyond that, because even though you can recognize it as that it might have happened in your life, that you might have been in that same place at one time, when it doesn't feel like it's a part of you anymore, then you've let go of it. Celebrate that. Celebrate that. Now, if somebody starts telling you their story, and you're jumping in going, oh, you know, that happened to me before, and blah, 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 and you're going on about your story, then that's a sign that we need to look at it and let go of it some more. Do you get me? Yeah, because, we can't carry those burdens with us all of our lives. It's not going to serve us. It's not going to serve anyone. But the minute we let them go and we start living our life from that place of that release, and we open up that soul to whatever those dormant memories are that want to come forth, it's a powerful thing. And Reverend Hayes gives us one more bit about this. She says, the knowing of the law becomes the practice of the law, which leads to results. So all we have to do is know it. And all of you know it now. So all you have to do is practice it. Jesus wanted us to understand how to pray by declaring to God, give us this day. He didn't say next week after we've prayed for 3 weeks, or you know what I mean, or been in penance for 2 days, or whatever. No, he said, give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us as we forgive others. This is living in the consciousness of using cause and effect on a daily basis. And in the schoolroom of life, I love this last one, we learn to do better, therefore we create better results in our lives. Powerful, huh? Well, you might be wondering about now why I gave you this balloon. Yeah. It's your Christmas present. Oh, all right. No, actually, twofold. There's twofold on this. First, the idea is that it's a reminder for you to celebrate life. Because don't you see balloons and you think, oh, it's celebration. Whose birthday? Whose party? Right? So it's a reminder to celebrate life. The second thing it is a visual exercise. So what I want you to do is I want you to blow up your balloon right now. And as you blow up your balloon, I want you to think about what it is that, what are you filling your life up with? What is it in your life that you're filling your life up with? Okay, don't tie them off yet, though. But if you're filling your life up with something that isn't serving your highest good, then let the air out and release whatever that is that you're thinking about that you didn't like in your life. You know? So if you're blowing up the balloon and you're thinking, I don't like myself for this reason, release it through letting the air out of the balloon. And you can make funny noises if you want to. Yeah, there you go. You can be joy-filled and silly. Okay, so let the air out, and now I want you to blow it up one more time, and I want you to think about what you want in your life and blow life into that balloon. Blow life into that balloon. Some of you might struggle with blowing it up, some of you might not, but just remember to not allow anything to suck the life out of you, but blow the good into it. And then you can tie off your balloon if you want, or you can quit making noises. The thing about it is, you feel as if you have reclaimed your life. Because this is what this exercise is to do. It is to bring you to that place of where you have let go of things do not serve you, and you're ready to celebrate life and put the good things into your life. Are we willing to celebrate life through the birth of the Christ within? Yes. Can't hear you. Yes. Yes. And you can knock your balloons around. That's cool. So let's together affirm this affirmation. I am ready to celebrate life joyfully through the birth of the Christ within. So now what we're going to do is... Well, I can't do anything about that. So as we bat around the balloons, what I want you to do is we're going to start with the back row and come up and see the birth of the Christ in the manger. And we can do this as we sing, "You Are the Face of God." It happened! Reba, you want to bring your row up and, let's see, Rick, you want to bring your row up and come see the baby in the manger?
The pear shape, huh? Looks like a light bulb.
have led up to the birth of the Christ within each of you as you saw the face of God. Amen. And these gifts of faith and peace and love and joy are yours to take with you in any moment of the day. Take them forth this week and share them with everybody. Because, see, the Christ is within each of us. And we are here to live the best life we can. We are God in expression, and God wants us to express that good every moment of our day. We have faith in action. We have peace that passes understanding. We are the love that sees good in everything, everywhere. And as we affirm these truths for ourselves, we naturally well up with joy. Thank you for being here today. God bless you, and Merry Christmas.